All right, guys, welcome to video number 2. The first one, if you guys haven't seen it, we discussed the pros and cons between the Badlands Traveler and my tricked out S7. In this video, we're going to pick back up where we left off on that one, and I'm going to give you guys just an update on my build progress for my airplane, and also talking with Kevin, and an update on the production side of things. So I'm just going to pick up where that video let off, and we'll get right into it. Been up to South Dakota as much as I can. This winter the weather has just been awful, you guys. A lot of wind, a lot of snow, a lot of cold, not a lot of sunshine. When we haven't had snow, which has been most of the time, it's mud. So just haven't done a lot of flying, haven't done nearly as much aviation type stuff as I'd like to, but it is what it is. Some of these things we're going to talk about, like the pros and the cons and the neat things that Traveler offers, I want to be able to show that. I'm going to show you some of that stuff up in South Dakota. And we got a ways to go in the build, but some good progress has been made. Some good things have been figured out on the build. Some of the more complicated parts of it that we didn't have quite figured out. And Clint is just fantastic. Levi that works with him, fantastic. It's been a real pleasure to get to go up there, work on my own plane with those guys. Those guys are just good dudes, smart guys, good fabricators, and I love that. I like to fabricate. I like to be around people like that. They can build and think up and do cool custom stuff. All right, so here we're zipping up to South Dakota. I'm going to show you guys some footage from the most recent trip up there. That way everything is the most up to date. Obviously progress has been made since I left, but I wanted to show some of the custom things we've done on mine, and also some of the finalization design that will go into the Travelers going forward. Like I said before, mine is kind of the last prototype is the idea, and a lot of what's on mine is going to be standard going forward. So we'll take a look at some of those things and show you some cool ideas that Clint came up with. All right, here we go.
Baggage panels.
Yeah, I saw that.
016.
That's
What's
freaking
left
sweet.
over from your STOL kit.
Right.
Metal, but no, it's. I guess we kind of need your input on what direction to go on some stuff. Like
Sure.
this is, it's not trimmed, not fitted in, not, you know, but anyway, you know, that's the size. Here's your torque tube. We do it. It's not done, but it's aluminum with just steel ends rather than all steel.
Sure.
Half a pound. And it's kind of a trick to get it in from the back without taking it completely apart. But then, yeah, like all this stuff's just not done, but so you have your coil connect here and cable wrap around there.
Sure.
Go straight up. I'm not sure if we'll need a fair lead to go from here to here, but the cable it'll hug the side. We'll probably put a fair lead to just make it so nothing gets hung up on it and
Right.
pulls it back.
Real quick, I just want to interject something in here, guys, I thought was cool. What he has done, the original wing design he had, the ailerons were completely different. They ended up being a little bit stiff. The cables were running up the lift struts, and the biggest issue with the whole thing was the Badlands Traveler, the custom wing that he built, was not interchangeable with the Cessna wings as far as where the controls lined up. So what he did is on mine going forward, with going to in the back and putting the cabling, you know, through the pulleys and everything, not only will it be smoother and lighter controls, but the controls will be interchangeable. So you could actually start with the Cessna wing and then change and put this wing on at a later time, and everything will line up and hook up. It doesn't require some major modifications, which is just, I mean, that just makes a lot of sense. So that's a really good change.
Yeah, you want to pull this out, and you know, it's just, there'll be, you know, 2 quick pins that hold the front half, but this is
Okay, right.
This is what it folds down to, you know, so you can, you know, stow it just like that. You know, there'll probably be a little cubby hole in this area, so we'll make a little, you know, spot to put stuff on both sides, and then there will kind of be a protected center area here where the, you know, torque tube is. So
hey, that's a great idea, because then you can flip up the seat, put some junk in there, and then it's, you know, hidden. That's cool.
That was kind of the thought process.
What you guys are looking at here is some more of Clint's genius design and cool ideas that he comes up with. This is something we've been talking about for a while, and now I can kind of show a little bit of it. It's preliminary. We got to do a lot of work to make this work. But anyway, what we're looking at is the back seat, the way it will fold down in the back. It will make a place to sleep in this, and you've got 7 feet from here to this bulkhead here, that if we put some kind of a floor in, and we're talking different ideas, he's got some different thoughts, we haven't finalized that, and this is all going to get changed. We're going to cut out some of these bars and make more of like an A-frame dog leg type structure in there to open that up, because that structure is important. It keeps the fuselage from the top and the bottom from racking side to side away from each other. And so it is, we can't just like cut it out, but we can cut it out, and he can redesign it in a different design that opens up the bottom where your legs and stuff are. And it also gives it a super big extended baggage for putting light stuff. Obviously beyond this station, you'd only want light things from here back. And like I say, it converts into a sleeping area, which is super nice to not have to set up a tent when you're changing locations every day. If you're just camping out of like Johnson Creek for the week, then you can bring a tent. That's fine, because it's going to be roomier, obviously. But when you're bouncing around in the backcountry and you want to camp on different places on a whim, it's so hard to do with an air mattress and a tent and sleeping bag and all the stuff. This is something you can leave the air mattress just pumped up, ready to go, sleeping bag ready to go. Everything's just in there. Put your stuff on top of it. When you get where you're going to go, put your stuff up front or outside, and you're done. Okay.
But this is, you know, unless I change something, this is basically the idea for the stabilizer. Now yours, we centered these. These are 1/2 inch thick aluminum discs, and they're just enough to get it all roughed in. But for people that do different engines, this round disc can be eccentric, so the hole in the middle can be eccentric to, you know, top or bottom. So if you needed, if you have a heavier engine like an IO390 or something, you would eccentric it to the bottom. And if you've got a Rotax or a, you know, Yamaha or something else, you'd eccentric it to the top. So what we got here is our version 2 and hopefully final version of the rib. We're using, actually, it's a foam, and you think of the foam as an exterior mold for the fiberglass and wood. So the foam gives you the shape, the profile of your rib, and it gives something for you to screw into when you're putting the strips down. And this is all West Systems fiberglassed in. It's 2 laminations of E-glass, and we're probably going to switch to carbon. This looks like carbon, but it's actually just pigmented E-glass. But I calculated it out, and each rib, nose rib, center rib, tail rib, they need to carry 300-ish pounds, you know, for a maximum load. I don't know how much this would hold. We'll break it sometime and see, but I bet it's over 400.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I mean, it's like, compared to the old Piper ribs or anything, I mean, these are just, they're so strong. And they weigh,
and wasn't much.
These weigh 1/2 pound each, I think.
Yeah.
They're super light.
It felt really light.
So anyway.
Yeah, they're pretty impressive feeling when you see them. Yeah, that opened everything up nicely.
Yeah.
You gonna cut this one out too? Or are you gonna make that part of it?
We're gonna keep this as part of it.
Uh-huh.
So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna Actually, this is kind of going to be a form.
It's about the right.
I got to think about this a little bit.
All right, so Clint's cutting pieces and I'm tacking them in, and we're building this truss piece here. So we're already rolling on this.
For me, but yeah, it'll all come down to what pillow you got.
Yeah, and a good blow up
And yeah, a little
mattress.
What I'm wondering now.
You ready?
Yep.
Building custom rudder and brake stuff here.
We're doing the aeration. I'm almost done with it.
So we redesigned this. We were going to move everything further forward for me, being long-legged, and move everything up in here. We're still going to build a little, box on the firewall to allow the pedals to come forward. But what we realized was, what actually is more comfortable and fits my feet better, is to not have the pedals so upright. So you can move the pedals back, but they're still upright. But my feet are at an angle like this. They don't want to be straight up. So I talked to him, I said, it'd be nice if we could lean these back. So we got to looking. We got some different master cylinders here that work better. They're a little shorter. And we didn't even have to change anything, and it allows everything to rock forward. So what I've had to do is clearance the bodies on these cylinders. There's just a little material that had to be removed in order to allow that to lean forward. And I've got a little bit of a hang up I'm working through here. And none of this is permanent, obviously. This is just testing stuff. But it allows this to lean pretty far forward, and I can still get full deflection on these when I rock my, when you rock your ankles forward lower like this, and it's pretty comfortable. Clint was liking this after he tested it too. He's like, that's actually pretty good. It is a little more comfortable. So that's what we're gonna do, and then we just got to make a little thing here that's on the firewall side. And we checked, there's plenty of room between that and the engine mount, so we can make all this work, I think, and not have to rebuild all this structure and change the stuff that they've already put in place, the floorboards and so on and so forth. So it's kind of a win-win. It's going to be pretty darn nice. And between that and them building the seat for me to, it'll slide back pretty far if I need it to be. And then we cut down these and retacked them last night, lowered the back to make it a little more comfortable so it leans back a little bit. And but what's great about this is, I got to run the seat back fairly far, but nothing crazy, so my CG doesn't end up getting, where I'm like sitting in the back seat and throwing CG off. I'm still pretty far up where somebody not as tall as me would be. I'm just a little bit further back, but then we're taking up that extra distance needed up front, which is good. So we're doing some checking here with the seat modified, the pedals modified, and the cowl on it. What's the visibility look like? It'll get a little bit better than this once the engine's on it and the tail doesn't sit quite this low. So there's a little bit less AOA in reality, so my view will be a little better than that, but that's about what I'm seeing when I sit up tall. All right, so the last thing we were really working on up there, and I didn't film much of this because we were mainly just figuring it out. And since then, Clinton has actually built some of this and got it, roughed out. So the dilemma is, how do we utilize this big fork and tire, still have decent amount of travel on the tail, shock, spring, whatever you end up doing, and not lose a bunch of angle of tire, not have it sit way up in the end. So that's a pretty good challenge. What we came up with after staring at it and throwing ideas around was to do something kind of similar to like Just Aircraft's done it. Helio Courier kind of has a similar thing. And that is put a shock up inside the tail. Clint built an A-frame. I'll show you some pictures here. And we moved the tail wheel. We actually moved the tail wheel up. It's a little more fore on the airplane towards the front of the airplane. And what that did, it actually, the tail wheel itself is kind of in line with where the rudder hinges. And that also helps with angle of attack. But what it allowed was to get good travel, let the tail wheel come up close underneath the airplane, and then moving it forward also keeps the airplane, the tail a little bit lower in the back. So, and it moves the weight up a little bit, which is also good. So it was really a win all the way around. I think this is going to be fantastic. It looks like it's going to be strong. It's got a decent amount of travel, probably at least 7 inches. And ground handling should still be good. Keep in mind, this airplane it's got, the fuselage is lengthened over a Supercub. It's a little bit longer. So you start out a little bit longer, then move the tail wheel back up. It's going to be a little bit further, forward than it would be on a Supercub, but not a lot. So ground handling and everything should still be good. You're not getting it like too short coupled or anything. So I had a great conversation with Kevin yesterday, and they gave me a good update on where things are going. Kevin, if you remember back to the video where we kind of released the Badlands Traveler to the world, he's taken over the production side of it. You guys, it's a huge project, and to start something like this, there's a lot goes into it, but a lot of progress has been made. They've got most of the project in SolidWorks now, he said. A lot of the engineering for things that they still needed to figure out has been done. They've figured out how to source a lot of the things they need to get. For example, the tubing to build the fuselage, they found a place where they can get that laser cut. It's clean and precise, so they have a good fit up and they can just weld them together and go. And it's actually a place that does this same thing for a lot of other well-known kit manufacturers and aircraft manufacturers. So one of the other major things he's done that I thought was really clever is he has like a beta builder program where they've selected a handful of people that have prior building experience, and they're sending them the first kits. They're going to be responsible for build manuals of different parts of the project, and then you can put them all together and they'll oversee the final construction of the manual, but those people are going to help to design the actual build manual for everybody. That's really cool. And they're also keeping track of like the hardware they use and all that kind of stuff. He said fourth quarter, he estimates fourth quarter they'll have finalized pricing for the kits, and they'll be, taking orders for the general public and starting down that path of getting kits out the door. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, it's just great having a conversation with him. He's a heck of an interesting guy. And it was funny. He said, I was kind of retired from some other big things that, big projects that he had been involved in his life, and thought maybe he was winding down. And he said, man, I'm more busy now than I've ever been, but I'm loving it. And you could tell on the phone that he is really enjoying taking on this project. So that's just cool to hear all about it. So anyway, I will put his contact information up here again, and also in the description. He said anybody's interested in the project, feel free to give him a call and talk about where things are at and where it's all going and all that stuff. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I know it got really long. Thanks for watching the whole thing if you did, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Kind of see some of the cool ingenuity that's going on with this thing. There's just some neat features that I haven't seen in any other airplanes in this class or this style. So I am really excited for this. It's still a ways out from being done, but man, I'm getting excited, and I hope we can get it done here somewhat soon and get in the air and see what this sucker will do. So thanks for watching. Patreons, thank you very much. Thanks for those that have subscribed to YouTube itself. Appreciate all that stuff, you guys. Thanks a lot. You guys know the deal. We'll see you on the next one.